In this tutorial in Cyberlink PowerDirector, we'd like to show you some basics on working with a tool called Paint Designer. In what you see on the screen, I've used Paint Designer in this particular frame in two different ways. It's an animated orange background behind the words FFA Farm Tour, and it's also an animated line underneath the date. Please look at the following example, and then we'll show you a bit more about using Paint Designer in your productions. I've placed a fresh copy of the video on track number 1. Let's get into the Paint Designer tool and see some of the things we can do with it. First of all, I'm going to go to my Tools menu on the upper left corner and click on the word Tools, and from the drop-down I will choose the Paint Designer option. I like to make my secondary screens full screen so I can see better, so we'll click on that in the upper right corner, and here's my Paint Designer. Most of the screen is basically your preview screen, but on the upper left you have several things. You have 4 different tools you can use: a pen, a crayon, or a chalk, and then you have an eraser tool. You also have colors you can pick. You can change the width of the tool, and you can select a reference frame. In the lower left corner, you also have a playback and freeze option, and we'll show you a little bit about how those work. So to start, I need to pick a tool. Let's start out with a simple pen tool, and then let's pick a color. Now there's 2 ways that I can pick a color. I can pick it from these recent colors I've used. I can pick by holding over the color slider and sliding and choosing the color I want. If that's not enough, I can click on the tools and go select color, and that will pop up a color screen where I can be even more careful in choosing my color, anything I want to use, using all these sliders. I also have an eyedropper here and an eyedropper back here. I can pick from these as well. I can choose basic colors, or I can choose any custom colors. So I have all these color options if I want. We'll go back to basic. Let's just take a white and click on OK. Now I can choose a width. Now what it's going to do is when I draw on the screen, it will also draw, and I can change the pace at which it draws if I want to. So let's assume I want to draw something over here in the clouds. And so I just draw like this, any way I want. And then I can play back what I drew. So let's click on the lower left corner and we'll hit play, and there it mimics my drawing. Now if I don't like what I did, and I often don't, I can click on the tool up here that says clean the canvas. That will change everything I drew. And it gives me a warning. That's okay. Now what I did for my other one was I used a chalk, and I used an orange color. So we'll get into the orange range here. And I made it whiter, and I simply drew with a chalk something like this, and then we put our title on top of it. But the interesting thing about this is this records all of your work. So if I start with an orange background, and again I can go over it a second time to make it a little more dense if I want in the chalk option. I could switch to a crayon, and I can pick, say, a blue crayon, make it smaller, and I can draw over here. Now I have a different color. I can, if I want to, I can take the pen tool and make it smaller, and I can actually write anything I want on the screen. Now what happens when I play this back? You notice it's going to do it sequentially. First the orange, then we have the blue, and then we have the red. So whatever you do sequentially, it's going to remember it and it's going to use it. If I want to remove one of these backwards, all I need to do is click on the eraser, and I like to make mine big. It doesn't matter what color you're using when you're using the eraser, But then when I take this, and if I go like this, it's going to erase it backwards. And you notice how I'm doing it, so it looks like it's written backwards. And if I play this, it's going to have my orange, my blue, my red, and then it backs up on the red. So that's basically the functions of how it works. Now, one of the things you can do is you have a playback and a freeze time. So if I want to do everything, now this controls every color, every action that I've recorded. I'm going to take the 5 seconds and change it to 1, and I'm going to take the freeze and I'm going to add a number. Let's say we freeze it for 6 seconds. Now you notice at the bottom we have two different areas in the timeline. We have a dark black area, that is the paint time. Then we have the freeze time. So we have 1 and 6, we have 7 seconds total if you look at the time code at the very bottom. So when I play this, this is what I'm going to see. You notice how fast it erased it. Now I cannot control the individual time for each of these elements. You notice how fast it erased it at the end. When you click on OK, it's going to ask you for a name. I will call this Test 6 and click on OK. Now you notice I have, in my overlay room, I have a subcategory called Custom. And my custom now is my Test 6. I can use this multiple times in multiple ways. And so I've just made my own custom overlay. Now the nice thing is I can edit it as well. It's not stuck there. So let's take the custom and drag it down here. And now it's going to play on top of my video. But if I want to change it, I can even change it in several different ways. Let's take the duration. We'll make it longer. Remember we had one. Let's change the duration using the clock. That gives me more precise. Let's say we want to go 13 seconds and 0 frames. Okay, what is it when I go back into it? If I double click on it, I can get back into my Paint Designer, and this is how it split it. So it does it proportionally in terms of playback and freeze. If I wanted it to be a round number again, maybe this is closer to 2 seconds and 0 frames, and change it here. It will change it on the timeline as well, so I can change how that works. I'll click on OK, and now if I click here, I still have my 13, but I've controlled both the playback time and the freeze time. So that's how you can control those features. Now let's say I don't want that red thing in there at all. I'll just double click on it. Let's do one undo and see what happens. Let's see if that changes it at all. Aha, that undoes the last step. Let's try another undo. That undoes that one. So you can back up and go forward. You can't go, say, into the middle, take the second element out, keep the first and the third. So if I undo again, now all I have is my orange. I'll click on OK. And now let's see what happens when I look at it and play it. All I have is the orange. So that's how you can control those features. So you can edit it, you can change the duration on the timeline and go back and edit it again. You can save it as something new. So if I want to click edit again, and you notice I have it as test, but I already have one as test 6. I'm going to go with save as. Let's call this test 7. Click on OK, and I'll click on OK again. Now I have my test 7 with just this element. The other one is preserved as I edited it. And here is the newest one. And you can delete these if you want. I can go right click and delete from disk. It will delete it. And it's gone. Now if I have it in the timeline, it will preserve it in the timeline. So that's a few things you can do when you're looking at the Paint Designer tool. There's some more advanced features. We won't deal with those in this tutorial, but you might find this useful at some time when you want to create your own overlay, as we did in the example we showed you earlier.